Hello, 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 and welcome to the first episode of Let Me Explain. Now, we've got a lot to talk about today. I am here in the kitchen. Thank you for 14 people being here. Appreciate it. It means the entire world to me at 2:20 p.m. You're spending your time here with me. This is a new podcast series or show series, whatever you want to call it. I've got a lot of ideas around this, and honestly, this idea is the culmination of 9 months of trying to figure this out. And what is this? I will get to that in a second. But it is something that we're trying to do every day around 2 p.m. It might not always be this setting, might be a different setting every other day. But we're trying something new here. And this will be in addition to the other live streams I do every single day. However, this live stream is not going to be, let me know if you guys can hear me well. I think the audio should be fine. So if it's bad, let me know. This live stream will not necessarily be about stocks and finance. It might come up a little bit, but it's not necessarily analyzing the market. It's more so analyzing someone who's trying to disrupt a market, which is me in the audio space. So this is one of those live streams where, look, I don't expect a lot of people to be here because it's not necessarily stocks and finance. But if you want to just put this on in the background an hour every day and listen to someone who's trying to build a company and, finance, investing, it's all like these companies have to be built by someone before they get to be stocks that we can publicly analyze and tear apart. And there's a process in terms of building those companies. There is a particular methodology. There's a particular way in which these companies become what they are. And there's a certain level of disruption that has to happen for every company before they become the companies that they are. So this is going to be a series where I explain in depth every single day about things relating to my startup. Now, my startup intersects with a lot of different ideas, including artificial intelligence, which today will be the first episode we're discussing. And so I think it'll be exciting and I think it'll be fun to discuss. Now, a couple of logistics. Number one, the reason we are doing it this way is because we also want more content to distribute on my other socials, my TikTok, my Instagrams, all that stuff. And for the past couple of months, we've really had a hard time trying to figure out, how do I talk about Audia? How do I talk about all the things in relationship to my startup more naturally, right? More organically. And this has been a challenge over the past couple of months because it's like, look, if I look into the camera and I'm trying to do this like 30-second soundbite, so the attention deficit that our entire world is engaging with can consume that content, because to be honest, if you're not creating content in that format, it is incredibly difficult to get discovered at scale. That is much more harder for me as someone who loves to talk, as someone who loves to, talk my shit and just keep going and talking. And so as a result of that, I realized one of the best ways to get the type of content I want is to just talk live. And the coolest thing about talking live, which I've done almost, I would say 300 times since last year, if we include a bunch of the different streams I've done, is I've kind of learned how to keep an audience's attention, hopefully during a live stream, how to answer questions, how to deal with a lot of different stuff, and how to keep things going. So I think it will be exciting. I think it will keep the stream going. It'll be entertaining, and hopefully you'll get a lot of information of it. If you're interested in companies, startups, my startup, what we're doing, how I think we become $1 billion company, because yes, I still believe we can do that. As hard as it has been, I believe there is light at the end of the tunnel. And I think it's just a question of figuring out how we get there. And I think the clips we'll get from these sort of live sessions will be a lot easier to not only edit, but turn into the type of content that I want to turn it up. So as a result of that, please, 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 ask questions in the chat. Nate, I already see your question right there. This is perfect. I need the questions. The questions are my way to create more content. So the more questions you ask, the better I will be able to go through my notes. I have some notes. I have some stuff I want to talk about, but the more questions I see, the better I'll be able to give more insight, and the more, stuff we'll be able to discuss when it comes to the startup. Shin Toki, what's up? Charles Stewart, Nate, Joel, Matt, Suri, Apurva, Sasky Rose, Philip Rizzo, the Riz, Tyler, you, Dex, Ray, thank you all for being here. Again, I appreciate it. It means the world. I remember when no one in the world cared about me, and having 35 people care at 2:24 p.m. on April 19th. I cannot say how much it means to the world. So I hope you guys enjoy. And we're about to talk about a bunch of different things. Okay, so here we go. Any thoughts, Tristan? You're good? Tristan's right there. We're in our studio right now for the Audia headquarters. Tristan set up all this stuff, so it's looking pretty good. And he's working on some AI stuff right now. That is some more stuff that'll be coming out in the future, but we're working. Okay, so I want to start off. So I have a topic, but I see two questions in the chat. I want to get to one of those questions. Nate, your question intersects with a lot of stuff I'm talking about, so I want to talk about some of the questions. Nothing is off table, and then we'll go from there. Last 15 minutes of the podcast, I'll make the StreamYard link public, and anyone can join. You can have your camera off, and you can just have, even through your phone, and you can just talk through the audio on your phone and ask a question, and we can do kind of like a call-in segment. So it's up to you guys, but we'll go from there. Let me zoom in on this camera just a little bit. Get a little bit better of an angle. Zoom out just a little less. Okay, that's perfect. I think that should be good. Just a little less. Just a little less. No, less. There we go. Perfect. That's perfect. That's perfect. Okay, here we go. Here we go. What do we got? So the first question, Amit, what recent struggles are you dealing with? I haven't heard anything Audia related content on your Twitter. Now, recent struggles, I wouldn't call it recent struggles. I would call it recent, I want to jump out of the windows every single day. That's what I would call it. Struggle is too light of a word, honestly, too. Not trying to make light of the situation, but look, when you're starting something, a company, a brand, a startup, it is very difficult. It is incredibly complicated to figure out how to get things done. A lot of you guys know our story. From September to January, we were growing pretty nicely, I would say. Not crazy growth, but about 20% month over month, because we were driving traffic from different sources of platforms, which is what every startup has to do, right? Airbnb and Craigslist. You talk about Facebook with email databases at Harvard. You got to find attention somewhere. We had figured out a growth hack to find attention. It was working phenomenally. And then the platform banned us, which is funny. If you guys heard the recent All In podcast by Jason, his cold open, the first minute, 30 seconds, he was talking about his company, Mahalo. And Mahalo, essentially what it did is it created answers to search queries in Google in 2007. So if people said, like, how do I tie a shoe? Jason Calacanis had hired like 100 people across the world to just write articles that were SEO optimized because they would rank for the traffic that was coming from Google because Google's algorithm hadn't like changed. And he was driving $10 million of revenue within like 18 months. Overnight, Google did something called a Panda update where they stopped caring about like SEO friendly articles and they just changed it to like actually good pieces of content. And his business literally died in what he says in less than 18 months after 18 months of raising $10 million, which kind of sucks, right? And it shows that if you drive traffic, you have a chance. If your traffic source cuts off, you have to figure out how to get new traffic. And if you can't figure out how to get new traffic, it's going to be very hard to build a company. So as a result of this, the hardest struggles, which is why I haven't been talking about it too much on Twitter, because there's nothing really to talk about. We have things we have to solve, is figuring out how to drive more traffic, how to drive more engagement. The one good thing I think over the past 2 months is that we've updated the crap out of the platform. If you go to it, it is a lot smoother. We have a new test flight coming out in a couple of days, a new version on the App Store, a lot more sleeker. There's a dark mode, all that stuff. However, now it's not just a question of, the platform itself being good. It's a question of user growth and engagement. And I think there is a lot of things we can do to get that, even if we're not, using another source of traffic. But there's a bunch of different ways, and I'm pretty excited to get that there. Okay, so that was the first question. I want to get into what I'm talking about. I see all the questions in the chat. I will get to them. So let me talk about what I want to talk about, and I'll weave in the questions as we're talking about this as well. Let me just... Okay, perfect. So the series I want to talk about today, or the episode I want to talk about today, is who artificial intelligence will benefit the most. And everything I talk about really has a relationship to my startup, which is kind of the reason I choose them in the first place. Artificial intelligence is changing the way in which we create and consume content. Why is this important to you as a general consumer? Your world is inundated with content. Either you are creating content of some kind or you are consuming content. The reason Elon bought Twitter is because $44 billion to him was a small fee to pay for free speech. And so if the content that we are consuming and eventually creating inundates and affects the perceptions and perspectives and ultimately relationships we create in life, then it's very important to understand what is going on in 2023 on planet Earth in regards to content. What has happened with artificial intelligence at scale, and ChatGPT in particular, is it has made the process of creating content not only easy, but 1,000 times more efficient and effective. What do I mean by that? Let's say I take a podcast or a segment of this podcast that I'm doing right now, and I put it into ChatGPT. I'll say, hey, transcribe this, so get all the text, and then summarize it in 2 paragraphs for a LinkedIn post. Or write me a 5-paragraph article in the style of blah, blah, blah. Or do this, or do that. The amount of content I can create from one 10-minute little segment of this live today, which only takes 10 minutes of my time to speak, essentially accentuates that message tenfold, because it can become 100 tweets, 100 LinkedIn posts. It can become 100 different articles that I can rank for SEO. I can do so many different things with that piece of content. I could not do that in the past. I would have to write those articles. I would have to write those LinkedIn posts. And, people may argue the AI posts are kind of stale. They'll get better over time as GPT starts increasing and if you prompt it correctly, which means the content's only going to become more. The quality of the content's only going to become better. And the barrier to entry into creating that content is becoming non-existent. What happened in the year 2000 or 2005 really with Facebook is that the barrier to democratize content creation became non-existent, right? NBC, CBS, ABC, Hollywood, they own the means of information. Once that died, because Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, really YouTube, right? Democratizing video, and Snapchat and TikTok and these types of platforms emerged, then everyone could create content. It didn't matter who you were. You could put your voice out there. Now, that is a bigger problem. And I don't mean problem in a negative way, but it's a bigger problem in terms of the quantity of content, because not only are the platforms available for you to get access to distribution to billions of people, you can now use the AI tools to create even more content than before to essentially abuse those platforms, right? If we're being honest, and pump them up with as much content as possible. This is why my belief in the subject of today's conversation is going to be, you guys are saying there's a brick wall. These are not fake refrigerators, okay? The brick walls are real. The refrigerators are real as well. The subject of today's conversation is who is the beneficiary of AI, and I think no one is talking about this because everyone's so everyone's so infatuated with AI. Infatuated is a beautiful word, by the way. It means you're really excited. It's used to describe flirtatious relationships and things. I've been infatuated with some women before in my life, but I'm more infatuated with this concept around who benefits from AI. And I don't think people are really talking about it. I honestly don't think people are talking about it. The true beneficiaries of AI are the platforms. Okay? It is the platforms. It is not the AI itself. It is not the content creators. It is the platforms. Why do I say this? The content creators don't really benefit from AI outside of making more content. But that doesn't matter, because if I can make more content and you can make more content, we both can make more content. It doesn't really matter. And you being slightly more attractive than me, or you having a little bit more talent than me, doesn't matter, because the AI doesn't care. I could be, a random person living in a basement just spewing out articles via AI. I don't have to be some talented writer, because the AI can create the content. So the content creators don't benefit as much. What I believe, and the tools, they benefit. They'll probably make some money charging some subscriptions, and you can pay $5 a month to get access to blah, blah, blah. That's fine. Those aren't going to be billion-dollar businesses. What is only going to get bigger and bigger and bigger are the platforms. Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, and YouTube. I mean, those are really the five. Snapchat and maybe whatever. There's more social, but these are the 5 platforms. There are 5 companies that are actually going to benefit from the rise in artificial intelligence in relationship to content. Obviously, companies like Palantir using AI in defense, that's a whole different conversation. I'm talking about content. Those 5 companies control the means of distribution across the world. And, this is not me ideologically saying this. Google put up $59 billion of revenue last quarter. Sorry, $69 billion, something like that. Meta puts up $128 billion of advertising revenue every single year. Like Google and Facebook alone control, I believe it's something like 30 to 35% of the entire digital advertising market. Which what does that say? Advertisers are not paying those platforms unless there's attention. Attention is not coming to those platforms unless people are posting content, because you need content to create the attention. That's why they're different than Netflix. Netflix has to pay for the content and they can get the attention. Facebook has to just let people post the content and then they get the attention. Well, what happens when everyone can post the content? What happens when everyone can post the content at such a level that it's almost unparalleled to what we've seen in the past 2 decades? And what happens when GPT becomes GPT-7, when it can create the videos and not just the text-based stuff that it creates right now? It gets really scary. I've seen a lot of thirst traps on Twitter of women that aren't even real. If you're an Instagram model, what's so unique about you outside of the fact that you post sexy pictures if I can just replicate that? So not only do these Instagram models already not have a personality, now they're not even going to have a real body, to be honest. And so this is the interesting thing that's going on with AI content, and the main beneficiaries of it are going to be the platforms. Having said that, why does this relate ultimately to Audia? And then I'll get into some questions. Not only does distribution suck in the audio space, and I mean suck, it is bad. It is hard to get discovered for your audio content. And we'll talk about why in future episodes and even more today. Audio content in particular is about to have a revolution with AI. I think people have seen already the Joe Rogan AI podcast, where literally the dude is talking to someone who he's never talked to before, Sam Altman, and the AI is so trained on these large language models that it can not only replicate the voices, which, by the way, we're doing some real awesome stuff with voice-based AI here at Audia and trying to see what we can do with that, but it can create real life conversations. And so that content doesn't need Joe Rogan to make a podcast if you enjoy listening to it. I'm sure people have seen the controversy of the Drake Weekend song that just came out. This is, I'm a big fan of Drake. Some of you may not be, but it was a song that I'm listening to in the car driving to work this morning because it's a good song. And Drake and The Weeknd, the biggest artist in the world, never even saying on the song. And it's like, wow. And you know, the music industry, copyright, there's a lot of stuff that we can discuss in the future, but you're not stopping AI. Just like you weren't stopping streaming with the record labels, you weren't going to get people to buy CDs. You are not stopping artificial intelligence. It will only continue to create more and more content at scale in written, eventually video, and already in audio format. If that's the case, who is going to benefit? I believe it's going to be the platforms. And so what I believe Audia primarily is going to benefit from is two things. Number one, there is not a distribution mechanism to get your content discovered currently right now. People will say it's Spotify. People will say it's Apple. I'll talk about those in future episodes. And even today, we'll get into that. They are not getting the job done. And if you don't believe me, why don't you try posting a podcast yourself on Spotify? Go into your backend analytics, and Spotify is the only one that matters, right? Apple doesn't give a shit about podcasts. Overcast doesn't give a shit about podcasts. Stitcher, these platforms are used. I'm not saying they're not used. I'm talking about who is getting the benefit from them. That is the existential problem that I'm trying to solve. If you upload your own content and just see how it does versus upload it on YouTube, I would like you to see the difference in terms of how the content performs. I can guarantee on YouTube, you will have a better shot of at least one or two people seeing it versus on a platform like Spotify. And that's not because one is video, one is audio. That's because of the internal mechanisms and the infrastructure these platforms have built, and frankly, the lack of dedication they have shown to creators to get that content out there. As a result of that, there's got to be a platform that actually does distribution for audio at scale. And if the current platforms aren't doing it, and there's some unique differentiation on my platform that allows us to facilitate doing that, which again, we'll get into many episodes over this series, that's where I believe we win. And this is really important because I'm not talking about the specifics of Audia yet, but I'm talking about the philosophy right now around AI. Someone emailed me the other day, actually an investor, and he asked me, hey, do you think ChatGPT can kill your startup? And I responded with, I actually did a video response. It was like a 17-minute video on my channel. And I was like, no, not at all. ChatGPT is only going to help content creators make more content in audio format, written format, whatever. ChatGPT is not a discovery platform in the context of you're scrolling through a feed on the one of the 5 apps that I mentioned that are important, and then boom, you discover a piece of content. And I see the question in the chat. I'm about to get them in just in 2 minutes. As a result of that, AI is what's going to facilitate more content. It is not going to facilitate content discovery. I mean, ChatGPT doesn't even have ads, right? Like you can't even discover a sponsored post or anything like that. So again, this is a hill I'm willing to die on until I see the opposite of it. The platforms are the beneficiaries. It is that simple. Facebook, if you make 15,000 new AI podcasts, where do you post them? How do they get discovered? Are they going to sit in your hard drive all day? If you make 17,000 new tweets by AI that are all these awesome Twitter threads, where do they go? Well, they go to Twitter. That's why I think Elon did a really good job buying Twitter, because at the end of the day, the platforms matter, and owning a platform, talk about influence. I mean, when you own the thing that has all the content that is only going to become more exponential from the thing that's helping people make more content at exponential rates, then that thing benefits exponentially. Because again, the attention is where the content is, and the content is on the platforms that are curating all of that attention and all of that content at scale. That is the bull case for not just my startup, but for any startup that wants to get into the content curation space. Now, building that startup is a difficult thing. It's a different question. But the startup in and of itself, I think, has a bull case just based on that. Okay, getting into some questions. Let's see what we have. Here we go. Can someone explain how Audia is different to YouTube? Can't you just post podcasts in YouTube? Great question. This is a question I had to answer for a lot of investors. For those that don't know, we did end up raising about $330,000 from angel investors. We finished that raise around January 13th. So we have a lot of runway. We're good to go. We have years and years of runway. Now we just have to execute and keep going from there. Look, I think the question is actually simple and nuanced, or the answer, but it takes a little bit of understanding of it to really get it. A platform hosting content does not mean the platform is optimized to get that content shown and ultimately discovered. And so when you've got something like YouTube, it's important to remember in 2019, YouTube had 500 hours of video uploaded a minute. That, I would argue, that's probably close to 750 to 1,000 hours of video uploaded a minute. I will say that again, 500 hours of video uploaded a minute. When you've got that much content coming every single minute, the question becomes the curation of that content. Why did TikTok win against YouTube? I know YouTube Shorts is doing well, but at the end of the day, TikTok still has close to 1 billion users, right? Why did the platform why was a platform from China able to get 1 billion users in the face of, the king of video, which was undisputed, which was YouTube? It's because they came up with a different way to get people discovered for their content. Like YouTube easily replicated short form video, Instagram easily replicated short form video, but none of them had a differentiated mechanism to get that content discovered, which is why people came to the platform in the first place. If you post audio only on YouTube, it is going to be much more difficult to get that content discovered. Most of my content is audio only. I sit in front of the camera. I would argue I'm not Brad Pitt, so I'm not the most attractive man in the world, but for some reason, Tristan just sighed. For the first year of making content, particularly around Palantir, was 4 videos a day. 4 videos a day. I worked from 2 p.m. to 11 p.m. every day. 2 p.m. I had to leave to go drive an hour. Blah, blah, blah. Then I had to go do all that stuff. I would drive back from 10 p.m., get home at 11 p.m. So from 11 p.m. till 1 p.m., I would sleep and I would make videos. And I would try to get about 3 to 4 videos a day. All those videos were just me sitting in front of my camera. If you don't believe me, go back to my oldest videos, just me talking. No one needed to watch my face talking. But for some reason, YouTube, because of the platform that it has and because of the emphasis on video, showed those videos to more and more people. And as a result of that, I built an audience. If you did an audio only thing on YouTube, my analysis based upon all the research I've done is that it is incredibly difficult to get that audio to show up in people's faces. Why? Because you've got Mr. Beast jumping out of a window, right, with the world's largest pizza or whatever the hell his new video is. It's probably not even his newest video, but nonetheless, you get my point. And the impressions on that video are simply going to be better and stronger than the impressions on a random piece of audio content on a thumbnail on a platform that's not even optimized for people to want to consume audio. So at scale, yes, you can post your content on YouTube. The question is, do you have discovery? Does YouTube prioritize these podcasts? Or do they put them in front of people's faces in relationship to all of the video content that already exists? That's the first question. The second question is, it's a bloated platform. And this is why new platforms succeed. Audia, if it works, will not be the only new platform in the next 10 years. There will be many. I would dare to argue 5 or 6 new mega big platforms, because eventually people realize there is a unique thing that can switch to make their platform different and have a host of more content on that platform. And there is a thing called underpriced attention, where on the early days of a platform, which is what happened to TikTok, you have more attention, less content. So more creators jump in to get some of that attention. You know why Joe Rogan left YouTube and YouTube literally did not even they were like, well, we'll see you on the way out. You can close the door. Because they have so many people that want to be the next Joe Rogan that they will never lose the monopoly they have on video in terms of content and attention. Yes, I know Rumble's there, but at the end of the day, YouTube is YouTube, right? 2.3 billion monthly active users. That's not going anywhere. That they don't need Joe Rogan. They don't need any exclusive creators. Those creators will come on their own because YouTube has the attention. The attention is free. Anyone can post a YouTube video. The attention is free. So my core thesis here about the differentiation from YouTube is that YouTube is a bloated platform. It doesn't prioritize audio as much as we would think it prioritizes audio, even though I know they have their whole podcast section. Like that's irrelevant to me, because if you don't have a video podcast, and if you go to that podcast section, the biggest shows are NPR, Flagrant 2, like the biggest comedians in the world. Like these are the people that are getting homepage attention on those pages, because that's what the platform is prioritizing in terms of really big shows. So I'm not saying YouTube is a bad discovery platform. I'm just saying in the audio space, there is room for a better audio platform in terms of allowing discovery and algorithms that are rooted in discovery for audio. And I just don't think YouTube is the case for that. Okay, I know the mic is not amazing today, guys. It's not really because of the mic; it's because of the reverb that exists in this studio. So we're gonna change that over time and try to make it sound a little bit better. But that is the core answer to that question. I'm hearing some of the audio right now. Okay, cool. Next question. I want to get. He feels powerful. It's like he's standing behind a podium. Yeah, I realize that's why I think I like this. It's like a little podium, It's like I get to talk my shit. This is cool. I love it. Thank you, 76 people, for being here. Every day we will be here discussing startup, Audia, all that good stuff. So thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. Homer Club, my boy, dishing it out in the kitchen. You know what I'm talking about. We got to do it. All right, here we go. What do we got? This question. How can you bring this level of active listening and response to Audia? Is voice only inherently more passive? Are there ways for you to increase user participation, interaction with creators? I believe this is the existential question of our time, which is how do you bring new attention to a platform? And my entire pitch has been, you can't make the platform like, oh, come here to listen to finance content, or come here because you can, listen to XYZ content. Like trying to brand a platform through a type of content is not the reason people will come to that platform, in my opinion, because the content is a commodity. I mean, there was a startup yesterday that I was talking to that raised $6 million. And, I'm not going to get into specifics of them, but these startups, man, they raised $6 million. I was talking to their product manager and he had zero plan of how he was going to get creators on the platform. It's a creator focused app. And I'm just like, he wants to schedule the call with me. So I was like, all right, because he saw I made an account because I was snooping as always, because I'm always snooping around new startups. And I got on a call with him and I was like, so what's your marketing strategy? And he was like, well, we just hope creators come. And I'm like, all right, I guess, VCs threw $6 million to companies based on that pitch. Like it is what it is. But like, so how do you get a company to get attention, especially a startup as a platform? You've got to sell the dream that the platform has an untapped opportunity. You've got to sell a dream and execute on that vision and that dream to creators. And when I mean creators, I'm not just talking about like professional, I'm talking about everyone who can potentially create a piece of content on your platform that will give them marginal more amounts of attention than they previously had on different platforms in which they posted that same content. And the dream is it's a new platform, which means the Joe Rogans of the world, the Charlie D'Amelios of the world, for those that are older, she's the TikTok star, the Mr. Beast of the world, they're not on this platform yet. They're not here, which means if they're not here, you have an opportunity to get attention. Let me make the most prime example everyone in this chat will understand. I haven't really talked about this before in depth, so I'm going to talk about it right now. Why do I have 17,000 subscribers today? Have you ever wondered that question? And I know we don't think about these questions a lot because when you subscribe to a creator, you're like, oh, I like their content. And then they just end up in your life. And if you keep enjoying their content, you'll keep coming. But it's hard to remember why they actually have that much attention. And I don't have the biggest audience in the world, but 17,000 people is pretty cool, right? 74 people here right now. Why are these people here? It's because you discovered me on YouTube or maybe Twitter. Let's talk about YouTube. How did you discover me on YouTube? The reason is because I was pumping out 4 videos on Palantir by the time I invested $25,000 into it back in November 2021 every single day. Now, I'm not going to talk about, how YouTube showed the videos to more people and you got to see me with impressions and click-through rate. We'll get into that in different episodes. What I want to talk about is the exact thing that's the answer to this question. The supply of content on YouTube for Palantir was low. It was not a lot. The demand for content on Palantir on YouTube was very high in terms of search volume. All I did as a very, naive 24-year-old was realize, holy crap, I have a lot of money in the company already, right? I believe in the company. I don't know it exactly as much as I know it now after, making 1,000 videos on it, but I did know it enough to be like 25K is a decent investment. Maybe not at the best valuation, but that's a different conversation for a different day. But nonetheless, I was like, I want to take a bet on this company. From a media perspective, I realized there was attention around this company. So again, the investment came before. I didn't make a video and then make the investment, and I proved it on that first video, right? That I had the money already in the company, and it was in there for months. YouTube wasn't even on my mind. But then I realized, you know what? I'm trying to build a brand. I'm trying to build attention. There is a underpriced level of attention. There is a supply and demand imbalance around this one topic on the internet, particularly on the world's biggest video platform. Holy fuck, I can take advantage of that. And I actually wanted to take advantage of that, or else I would have, jumped into Tesla content like everyone else and tried to ride that wave. And I wasn't trying to do that because I didn't believe in Tesla. I believed in Palantir. I wanted to make Palantir content. And on top of that, there was a market opportunity there from a supply and demand of attention. And I believe every creator at one point in their life, they have to recognize that. Mr. Beast saw a market opportunity. No one was saying the word Logan Paul 100,000 times on YouTube. He had a monopoly, speaking of Palantir, competition for losers, he had a monopoly on that type of content that no one was willing to compete with because he was doing insane stuff. Therefore, he got more views because there was a supply and demand imbalance of attention when it came to the type of content that he was creating. Was there competition for Palantir content? Yes, but quite frankly, no one was good at it. Now I think there's awesome Palantir creators, but back in December 2021, no one could actually analyze the company from a philosophical perspective, from a technical perspective. I mean, even CodeStrap wasn't big on YouTube yet. And so it was my world to jump into and to build a brand off of it. And hopefully I've created more valuable content outside of just Palantir, but you got to know me because of Palantir. Just like Leonardo DiCaprio, right? Titanic was his big break. And then, he got Inception and Wolf of Wall Street and all these other things years later. But we gave him our attention for Inception and Wolf of Wall Street because Titanic was the one where he made us fall in love with him. At least me. I don't know about you guys. So the answer to this question, the way we get more people coming to the platform, which will inevitably create more content and more listening, all that stuff, is we've got to get people to believe that there is an imbalance in terms of supply and demand of attention on Audia. How do we do that? Part of it is doing stuff like this and pumping out as much content as we can. And we have a lot of other different ideas. And that's what we've been struggling with for the past 9 months. Quite frankly, that's what every startup struggles with. I talked to that startup that raised $6 million. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. They don't know what the hell they're doing. And I'm like, well, you guys raised $6 million and you don't know what you're doing. We've tried a lot of stuff. Even though we failed at stuff, we're still going to keep trying. And so to me, it's not about money at this point. It's about execution. How hard can you go and keep trying to do what you got to do. Freelance financer. He is hungry. If this is Vitaly, I am never cooking a sandwich for Vitaly ever in my life in the kitchen, because then he'll call me his bitch. I'm sorry. That was a sexist joke. I'm sorry. Don't cancel me for that. Tristan's laughing about. You're not laughing because it was funny? Oh, boy. I feel like a mid standing up that ups the energy like 3x. All right. Let me just say, there is a notebook in my house where I wrote stand-up bits. I'm not saying they're the best, but I'm saying at one point in my life, I need to be on stage and do a stand-up bit because I'm funny. Okay, I'm funny. So at the end of the day, that's it. All right, let's go to another question. Great answer. I agree TikTok's algorithms are best in class. How does Audia differentiate with Discovery? Is the aim to have better algorithms? Yes. So in the context of Discovery, and then we'll get back into some more AI stuff, and I'll talk more about this on better episodes, even more in depth. But this is my core premise and argument around Discovery, right? So I'm pulling up the Audia app right now on my phone. I'll put it in the link in the description if you guys don't see it. So this is what we have. Camera can't see it that well. I'll probably put it closer. But what I'm doing is I'm scrolling. Right? I'm scrolling through a feed. My simple hypothesis, again, startups are not supposed to be overly complex. This is a simple hypothesis. People discover content through scrolling. You found me on YouTube through scrolling. You found me on Twitter through scrolling. I popped up in your feed. Imagine the scrolling home feed as basically the basis of distribution for anything in the digital era to get discovered. Just like your TV screen, we have a TV right there. The channels, the way the channels pop up is how I discovered new TV when I was little, right? On Google Chrome or Google, right? Any search engine, you type in something, you scroll through the first 7 links. And in those 7 links, you should probably find something that answers your query. You click on it and then you've discovered it and you potentially buy some shit from it. That's why Google's worried right now about ChatGPT, because that process doesn't exist. My argument is not only the algorithms will get better, because again, the algorithms are a commodity. Like we already have an elementary intelligence learning algorithm right now. It's not the best because we don't have a ton of data, but the algorithms are simple. You like this, we're going to show you more stuff tangentially related to that. These categories are here. These tags are there. These words you searched means we're going to index other Audias that have those words that you searched. We're going to pump them into the feed. We're going to see the stuff you clicked on for the view duration or the listen duration on our platform. How many impressions does this post have? If it has a 3% click-through rate, let's give it a 4% click-through rate by showing it to more people. If it doesn't get to 4%, if it has a standard deviation of 0.5, will lower the amount of impressions. There's all these things you can do when it comes to the algorithm that are quite frankly not hard, because social apps have existed for the past 20 years. It's pretty easy to do them. What's hard is creating a mechanism in which people actually want to scroll that feed. And what I believe has happened in the audio space, and again, we'll go into this in other episodes because it's a lot of stuff to talk about, is the major platforms have not created that feed. And I'm not the only one who believes in this. I've got a lot of evidence and a lot of proof of other content creators that are much bigger than me talking about how, particularly Spotify, they haven't done this. And their business model excludes them from doing this. Their shareholders exclude them from doing this. The commitments they made exclude them from doing this. And quite frankly, the nature of how the platform is structured in relationship to podcasts excludes them from doing this. YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook are the only 4 platforms that can do this. And all of them are and Twitter. All of them are video text-based platforms. Could it be easier for a Spotify to do something like this? I think the answer is no. I'll dive into that in future episodes, but I genuinely think the answer is no. I've studied this space for 3 years, and as a result of that, that's why I think we have a shot for that. Can we get a feature in Audio that allows us to post an MP4 file and Audio will only take the audio? Yes. The reason this is hard is because we have to separate the gigabytes and like kind of get that out of there and store that. It's not the hardest thing in the world. I explored this a couple months ago, but we got so busy with other stuff. But yes, we will try to do that. YouTube requires too much for monetization. Look, this is a good point. You got to get 1,000 subscribers. So I'm part of some YouTube groups on Facebook, right? These are like subscribe for subscribe groups. I joined them back in 2021 because I was like, subscribe for subscribe, right? It's like these groups where like, please subscribe, please, and all these people are sharing their channels all day. And, in hindsight, it's not a good strategy, right? You have to actually grow an audience. And they're like, hey, if you subscribe, I'll subscribe. All of them are just like, hey, we just need 4,000 watch hours and 1,000 subscribers and we're good to go. The thing no one talks about is it doesn't matter if you get 4,000 watch hours and 1,000 subscribers and you're monetized. I got monetized in 19 days, from November 15th to December 6th in 2021, and I made $750 that month of December 2021 from YouTube. The reason was because people were actually watching the content. It was consistent and it was building an audience, and I was posting 3 times a day. Getting to 1,000 subs and 4,000 watch hours after begging and pleading for it doesn't matter because you get paid like 5 cents if no one's watching, or if one person, maybe clicks on one ad. For YouTube to work, for advertising at scale to work, there has to be so much attention on your content. And for me, I was even getting, 5,000, 6,000 views, which is not a lot in the grand scheme of things, but it's still a decent amount in order for that to actually work. So as much as YouTube requires a lot for monetization, I understand. I'm sympathetic to why YouTube requires all those things for monetization, but it's still, it is a lot. And hopefully on Audia, we can make it a little bit different. And also, we don't have as many creators as YouTube. So when we roll out monetization, it's going to be super simple because we want to get people monetized ASAP. So honestly, I don't even know if we're going to have any requirements. We're just going to roll it out, and the creators that take advantage of it, take advantage of it. And, this is another episode, but I think audio advertising, I've studied this market very well. It's way better than the type of video advertising that exists on TikTok, right? The reason TikTok creators don't get paid is because there's barely any advertising mechanisms to actually pay them in a meaningful way with those short form. I think I've uploaded like 50 shorts over the past couple of weeks. I made $2, literally $2 from those 50 shorts. Now I've gotten more views, right? So like the trade-off as a creator is like, well, I get more discovery because now 10,000 people may have seen who I am. But in terms of the money, it's horrible. And I think, every creator will take the trade-off for attention over money because eventually they can monetize. But in terms of long-form content, getting attention is very difficult on YouTube. It's not easy. All right. I'm going to put the StreamYard link in the chat, make it public. Anyone who wants to ask a question or say a thought can join. Oh, sorry, there's a slash. I'm going to send it again without the slash. You can keep your camera off or on. It doesn't matter. It's up to you. And you can just do audio or do audio and video, and you can ask any question you have for me in regards to this. Now, while I'm waiting for that, I want to talk a little bit more about AI, since that's the question of this episode today. AI is going to help our algorithms get a lot more better. So when you notice in the context of a recommendation algorithm, all of these platforms live and die by their recommendations. If Twitter starts showing you tweets you don't want, you leave, right? YouTube shows you videos you want, you get really annoyed because the platforms are supposed to know exactly what you want. Well, the chicken and the egg problem for Audia is we don't have that AI. We don't have that beautiful, fancy algorithm that knows exactly what you want because we're a small, little, dinky startup. And so one of the issues is when you're trying to build a recommendation algorithm is if you're not recommending something people care about, they're just not going to click, and they probably might not come back to your platform. And that's a difficult position to be in. One of the things that can resolve that more easily is the advance of artificial intelligence in relationship to creating better algorithms. And so, as I mentioned before, creating the algorithms are not that hard, but making sure there's a level of AI built within them to figure out the cross-collaborative filtering necessary to figure out what data requires the particular types of content to be shown, that's going to be really important. Going back to my thesis on, it's not about AI killing these platforms. It's about AI enhancing and accentuating the ability for those platforms to give more reach to people. And that's why these algorithms are incredibly important, powered by AI. Please have a paid version that focuses on users' interest and not watch time to see more ads. YouTube lacks terribly because of it. That's very interesting. That's very, very interesting. Having a paid version that focuses on users' interest and not watch time. Ideally, the free version focuses on users' interest and not listen time. Because if we give you something you want to listen to, you will actually listen to it and therefore increase your listen time. But yes, I agree. YouTube does have a problem with this. I think I can speak for everyone when I say, can we please get an amidst public schedule website landing page where you have a calendar scheduling what podcast live streams you plan on doing and when? I agree. I was actually thinking about this today because I realized the content's becoming a lot. So the live streams we have right now are morning cowbell, which I haven't been able to do since last week because I was getting a root canal. It was hard to talk. Morning cowbell, talk about stocks. Think of it like a daily show talking about stocks for about 45 minutes. Then we have morning open where we open the market together. Then we have Let Me Explain. Then we might have market close. I'm thinking of bringing market close back because why not? It's 30 minutes, right? We close out the markets. It's not that bad. And then we have Finance Junkies late at night. And then on Fridays, we have SoFi and Palantir Weekly. So 5 streams a day. Saturday, Sunday, those streams don't happen, but maybe we do like an extra Saturday, Sunday. Well, Sunday Finance Junkies happens. So Saturday is my day off. Okay. Saturday is the day I don't do any streaming. I'll just think about what I'm going to talk about for the next week. Yes, that makes sense. We'll definitely do that. What if you integrated my idea with Audia? You could have a creator calendar schedule built into Audia. Yeah, I think another feature I want to build on Audia is this idea of email integration. So if you subscribe to a creator, I want us to be able to let you have the option to give your email to that creator. Like on YouTube, if 17,000 people, I had 17,000 emails, not just your like subscriptions, that would be the most valuable thing in the world because I could reach you guys and I could own that audience, even if YouTube, fucks with the algorithm. On Audia, I think one of our differentiations could be like, hey, if you subscribe to this person, you can opt in to give your email if you really care about that person. And now that person has access to your email, they can actually, have a relationship with you outside of the platform. So we're giving more, we're using the platform as a way for creators to get their, get more emails, get more reach, but they can still take that reach wherever they want to go. Kind of like how Substack is doing, which I really, really enjoy that content. Okay, I want to go to a question above from Nate. He asked it a while ago. And let's put it in the top. How will Audia compete with the already improved Spotify recommendation algorithm? I found people podcasts recently that I've never heard of, and I've seen people having the same experience. Okay, so Spotify, for those that don't know, has increased this discovery mode on, and again, I will do many more episodes talking about the problems with Spotify. There's a lot, and there's a lot, but there are some, issues with this new discovery thing that they've created. Okay, so I'm on Spotify's discovery mode right now. Okay. I clicked on podcast and shows. There's 3 options: music, audiobooks, podcast, and shows. I clicked on podcast and shows. This is what pops up. I'm going to come to the camera right now and show you what pops up in front of me as I scroll through the feed. Okay. This is what pops up. You can see that right there. For those that don't know, I can hold the mic like this. I don't have to, I can hold them. Yeah, we can do this something like this. Okay. For those that don't know, that is a podcast inside of the new and improved discovery feed for Spotify. This whole thing they made a big event deal about that they paid 60 million cojones for. I don't even know if I use cojones in the right way, but I use it. 60 million Dolores they paid for that. Dolores is actually a cute name for a girl. That'd be interesting if I went on a date with a girl named Dolores. Dolores and Amit. That would be interesting. $60 million for this podcast, okay? Hailey Bieber, call her daddy. What is a $60 million exclusive podcast doing in my discovery feed? Why am I discovering this? Well, you know why I'm discovering this? You know why? Because Spotify paid $60 million fucking dollars for it. You better be damn sure I'm going to discover this. Look, my argument is not you can't discover new things on these platforms. My argument is the infrastructure that these platforms are creating, particularly Spotify, that has spent $2 billion on podcasts, makes it incredibly difficult for a random dude like me to upload a clip about Palantir's, ontological relationship with data, and have that pop up and take away that podcast and put me there. And that's what creators need. This is why Ticker Symbol U, who runs a really big YouTube channel on YouTube, why did he invest in Audia? Because he's had like 50 million YouTube views and less than 5,000 Spotify plays on the audio version of his content. Now, you tell me, why is the content's not bad? Like 50 million to 5,000 means something else is wrong. It's not the content. If 50 million people have enjoyed it, it's the platform that's recommending it. And so at scale, what I believe is if Spotify's going to keep dishing their exclusive shit in there, and also, by the way, that's not even the main feed. I have to do a bunch of clicks just to get to that feed, which is different from Audia. Audia is the main feed, Twitter, the main feed, YouTube, the main feed, TikTok, the main feed. These are slight nuances within product differentiation that matter. It can never be the main feed for Spotify because they have record labels that own 75% of them, and they're not letting you put some random no-name podcast in front of you when they've got records to get streams on and collect their 75% of the revenue. So my whole point is their exclusive model is going to fuck over creators, and it's already fucked over creators. And if you think the discovery mode is going to solve that, look, I just think it's going to be hard. I think it's going to be very, very hard. And so that's kind of the core issue there. They keep pushing people on your list you don't want. YouTube Music is way better. Yeah, I've been using YouTube Music, and I think YouTube Music's discovery is pretty awesome as well. But again, a lot of the platforms, they struggle. Like, we'll do another episode on music later, but music discovery is something I think Audia can be big on. I think it, and again, the reason I think it can be big on is not because we're better than Spotify and YouTube in terms of algorithms. It can be better because those platforms are so bloated that if you give musicians an alternative approach, you sell them the dream, which means you've got to do a hell of a job selling and in terms of content marketing. They're going to come. They're going to try it. I'm saying this as a creator. As a creator, I'm looking at new platforms every day, and I'm like, oh, could that platform get my videos extra views? Could this? Why do you think I'm on LinkedIn? Because LinkedIn, even though I make finance, maybe I will do anything to get more attention because I need attention. I am an attention whore. Okay. And everyone who is trying to do anything in their life, whether you're a real estate agent, lawyer, you're trying to build some type of personal brand, podcast, you will do anything for attention because you know that attention is currency. And if you're authentic enough, that attention will translate into opportunities in the future and get the job done. I need the attention. And so I'm willing to use new platforms. And I believe as a creator, if that thesis spans across the millions of people, honestly, hundreds of millions of people across the world that need attention in Japan and South Korea and London and India, that all these people, they're building their livelihoods with the assumption that they can't just have a 9-to-5 job. There was a great tweet thread I saw the other day by someone who's starting a ghost writing LinkedIn agency. Now, what is the point of this agency? The point of this agency is founders and CEOs, like C-suite executives, they're too busy to write LinkedIn posts all day. But they know that they will close more deals. This has honestly been my critique of Alex Karp. If he had a LinkedIn page or a Twitter page and he was just tweeting 5 times a day, he doesn't have to write the tweets, right? You can literally just take his quotes from his videos and just put them on Twitter. It's so simple and they don't do it. It makes me so upset. He would have disproportionate levels of more attention. Imagine, someone from the Lithuanian government just scrolling through their Twitter feed, and because Twitter algorithms know that they care about defense, Alex Karp's tweet about why the DoD and governments need to embrace AI and machine learning, that just pops up in his feed. He discovers it. He clicks on Alex Karp. He has no idea what Palantir is. Goes to the website. He's like, this is pretty damn interesting. Let me do some more research. That needs to happen, right? So the ghostwriting agency is basically this new company that's starting, and there's plenty of these companies already, but this is the thing I saw on Twitter, that they're going to ghostwrite LinkedIn posts and Twitter posts for C-suite executives and founders that don't have the time for that. Now, why does this prove my point? What it does is establishes the fact that everyone is going to be posting more content to build their brand. Even if it's AI generated bullshit content, you got to have something in the feed, which means who benefits from that? It's the platforms. Because if this ghostwriting agency doesn't exist without LinkedIn or Twitter, because where are you going to publish the post? You're going to just put it on a WordPress or a website that has no traffic? No. You're going to put it into these giant behemoths of machines where those machines can then take that content and then show it to people so you can drive business results. That is the bull case for Audia, because that same C-suite executive can have a 7-minute, audio recording, audio idea about data and its relationship to driving business intelligence results. And if that gets discovered on Audia and someone's scrolling and it gets 50 listens, those 50 people have now consumed a bit of your world. You have penetrated their consciousness just a little bit. And if you keep posting more and you keep getting more reach on that platform now becomes a behemoth to serve more and more content. That is the bull case for Audia. That's why I think, as hard as the startup is to build, that is what wakes me up every morning. Because these are objective truths that we cannot deny. The content is being created at exponential rates, and everyone, whether it's a C-suite executive or a first-time college graduate, is trying to make more and more of that content. And there's only 5 places that distribute the content. I think there needs to be more than 5 places. The content needs to match the audience. So I agree, right? So if you post content that doesn't match the audience, it's very difficult. And so this is, this gets into another discussion of why I started with Palantir content. And why I stayed so heavy on Palantir before I even thought about talking about something else. The reason for this is a fun story. So I like the first 7 Palantir videos are popping, right? Like I went from 0 people knowing me on the internet to like a couple thousand within like 5 days, right? So I'm 24 years old. I'm driving up to work and I'm like, I'm just thinking, I'm like, damn, like 6,000-7,000 people care about me. They care about who I am. They care about Amit. Like, this is awesome. Like, I know they care about Palantir and they clicked on it, but they care about me talking about it. So I got the jolly old good idea that day to talk about, John, I see you background. I see you in the back room. I'll get you in a second. I got the jolly good idea to talk about Apple. I was like, you know what? 7,000 people care about Amit. They care about Palantir. They're probably going to care about my thoughts on the Apple car. I was like, let's make a dope thumbnail. Let me do 20 minutes talking about the Apple car. I put it out there. That video got like 15 views within a day. Now the Palantir video is getting 600-700, right? And this is the first punch in the gut you have to take as a creator. And I do want this series to be more than just my startup. And I want to talk about content creation as well, because I think that relates a lot to what we're trying to build here. But that's the first punch in the gut, because you're like, oh shit, no one gives a hell about me. Not yet. They don't care about me. They don't care about my thoughts on Apple. I don't even like apples. I like bananas, right? Why would they care about my thoughts about Apple? They care, but I think I'm as appealing as a banana. Nonetheless, they care about I just saw the Tristan nodding his head. They care about Palantir, right? They care about that. So I can't be out here thinking, oh, this comment by the Slim Architect, the content needs to match the audience. Apple was not matching that audience at the time, right? And that's the issue. So the problem with content creation is you have to create so much of it, and you have to do it so authentically, which I think I've been doing on this channel over the past year, to be able to develop a relationship with the audience. So one day they might actually care about Apple or your thoughts on Apple, right? And so that's kind of the core thesis there. But yes, the content needs to match the audience, and eventually you can go from there. Why not turn on join button YouTube for your channel? I mean, I don't know if people want to pay $3-4 a month and for the channel. Honestly, I just like the content being free. But I don't know. I have a Patreon. Some people pay for that. If you guys want me to turn that on, I'll turn it on. But I'm just so happy you guys are here. Like, I value the attention so much. 78 people being. I know what it feels like. This time 2 years ago, April 2021. I remember we launched the startup April 5th, 2021, and no one showed up. And we had a wait list of like 700 people. And I was like, oh shit, no one really cares. So I know what it feels like to have no one care, which means I'm just so grateful that 79 people do. That means a lot. Okay, John, welcome. You're on the show, buddy. What you got?
Hey, thanks, man. It's good to be here. So I was wondering what you think about like these algorithms just like essentially becoming the snake that eats its own body. Like if these algorithms just keep giving us content we think we want, then we're just stuck in our perpetual echo chambers. Like my own experience, like I used to play World of Warcraft heavily. I still get like 5 videos a day 10 years later from World of Warcraft creators. So what do you think about the whole like the algorithms just giving us exactly what we want? Like how do you see that as like a good and a bad thing?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll just mute you, and then when I'm done talking, you can respond to anything you have to say. Look, it's a difficult thing. I think a couple things. Number one, you can tell YouTube, or you should be telling YouTube, or anyone should be telling the platform, hey, I don't want to see this content anymore. So I had a phase where I watched a bunch of like prank videos on YouTube. I don't care about that stuff anymore, but YouTube's algorithms want to keep showing me these prank videos, right? But now I care about tech, investing stuff. So, telling YouTube to not recommend me those videos, that's an important thing. It's not the best feature. They should probably know it already, but their algorithms are still kind of stupid. So telling the platform what you want, I think is incredibly important. The second thing, though, in relationship to what you're saying, and this is where I'll take it to a different direction, is that algorithm, as much as people hate it, it is the great equalizer of our society. And this is a hill I'm willing to die on. If there is no algorithm, there is no emit, right? Like the algorithm on YouTube or on Twitter, because those are the platforms where I actually have some attention, is where emit shows up. And so, and so to me, Kim Kardashian exists, right? Kim Kardashian is trying to sell all this stuff every single day. She has hundreds of millions of people that care about her. How is tiny old little Amit or John Sarge or anyone else being able to compete with that? And forget Kim Kardashian. Then you got like Coca-Cola that spends $100 billion or whatever on marketing a year. Like how do we compete? The only way we compete, and this goes back to my point about the platforms being the great equalizer, is that there's an algorithm that says, oh, John cares about Palantir. So instead of showing him some of the Call of Duty game footage or whatever, we're going to show him Amit's videos instead, and hopefully he clicks on that. Now, the algorithm doesn't get it perfectly, right? And they can sometimes keep you in an echo chamber. I watched like 2 Ben Shapiro videos. Next thing you know, YouTube's trying to turn me into the most radical conservative of my life. So it doesn't get the job done all the time, but I do think it does equalize the playing field. Now, to your point, John, I think when we create Audia's algorithm at scale, it's got to do a much better job because it's audio content, right? So either the platform prioritizes the click, which is I think the downfall of YouTube, because they want you to see the sensationalized, literally see the sensationalizedness of the content in order for them to sell advertising. With audio, you're not trying to get someone to be sensationalized. You're trying to get them to take their phone for 10 to 20 minutes and just, or maybe an hour, right? And consume something meaningful. And I think if we hit scale, which is yet to be known, but if we do, the type of content circulating on the platform will not be the most sensationalized, honestly bullshit. It will be content that has an intimate relationship with someone's ears. And as a result of that, create a higher threshold for community building and ultimately a better algorithm at the end of the day, showing people content.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. I think like the one concern that I have, just like with these algorithms, is just like it's essentially just like direct plug and play to like our base desires, right? So I think the majority of people are going to end up getting stuck in that like content loop of only consuming like Mr. Beast videos or Amit videos. And I think that's something that like normal people, they're not worried about like getting outside experience of like, oh, I want to see some other form of content. I think most people are like, no, this is the form of content that I'm okay with. And they're like, forget it. I don't care about these algorithms or like being able to like whitelist or blacklist like a particular content, even though I continually do like what is it, like the not interested on this channel, but I still always, it's like deep in the code of the algorithm that they're just always going to give me this particular form of content.
Yeah, the one I agree with 99% of that. The one pushback I'll have is that audiences are very cyclical, right? And this is why it's so hard. This is why I think being a content creator is the hardest thing in the world. Because there was a point where, let's say, I would say 60% of people that are subscribed to the channel, 5, 7, 8,000 people, they probably don't, not only do they not watch my videos anymore, they don't even see them in their feed because they had their moment where they cared about Palantir, and now that moment is gone. They either invested and they don't care anymore. They don't like necessarily how I talk about other pieces of content, or they knew me as the Palantir guy. They don't care anymore. Maybe they sold out in stock, so it's irrelevant. They just haven't unsubscribed because they forgot. I do that to YouTube channels, right? I'm subscribed to like 450 of them. I don't have time to watch 450 channels a day. So I do think that audiences are cyclical, and that the reason YouTube might be pushing you a ton of emit at one moment is because you watch 2 or 3 videos, and this is their opportunity to hook you into emit, which honestly I'm grateful for, because if they're not hooking you into me, you're not showing up to a live stream, right? You don't actually care about me. So on one hand, it's like they got to get you while you can, but then on the other hand, if audiences are cyclical, then they go away.
Yeah, one thing that I like posting content myself and like about the algorithm is I post a bunch of different sorts of content, but like if you're not interested in like my like outdoor adventures or whatever, like the algorithm will only show you the things on my channel that you're interested in. So like you said, like you only posted Palantir content, right? And I watched the hell out of it too. It was great Palantir content. But if you started posting other content, I don't think the algorithm would show me that particular like avenue of content. It would only show me the content that you're posting that I would actually like.
Yeah, and this is the problem, man. This is a really tough situation, because from YouTube's perspective, they're like, well, if John only clicks on the Palantir videos, why would John click on XYZ videos? Even though I give them some credit, they do some good of a job of like showing my startup stuff to people, even though they might not click, but at least they get to see it in their feed and have a chance to click. But it's a hard thing because, and again, this goes back to the bull case for Audia. There are probably 700 to 1,000 hours of video uploaded a minute on YouTube. YouTube doesn't have a choice but to show you the most clickable thing. Now, I don't necessarily philosophically agree with that, but from a business perspective, they're like, look, John has a limited amount of attention in the day. We just got 1 trillion videos uploaded last hour. We need to show the best 5 of them, because John's going to only scroll a couple times before he decides to say, fuck it, I'm not watching anything, to get him to click. And that is the sensationalized nature of the platform that is incredibly difficult to deal with, but it is also the algorithmic equalizer that allows me to gain attention. So I think there has to be a balance to that. And hopefully, Audia can be another platform that creates that balance, because it just doesn't have that much content.
Yeah, I agree. Thanks for answering my questions. I appreciate it.
Thank you, John, for being on. I appreciate it. You're the first guest ever on this show. It means a lot.
Thanks. Yeah, you guys have a good one.
Check out his channel. It's in the description. Or John, if you just link your channel on YouTube, people can check it out in the chat.
Yeah, I'll throw it in the chat right now. Thanks,
right,
guys.
Awesome. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, I think we got another 5-10 minutes, and then we'll be done for the first episode for today. Gabe, what is the next level of expansion for Audia? What's the 10-meter target goal? We need to get more and more attention on, quite frankly, me speaking about Audia. I think there's a lot of things we can do in marketing. We're trying a lot of different things, but the number one thing to build a new social platform, not even social content, but it's not a social platform, it's a content platform, is we need to get more and more people to know it exists. And look, we need to get to the seed round, okay? We don't need 100 million users. We just need to get to the next round of funding, which would hopefully be around, if we're lucky, $1.5 to $2.5 million. And we need the VCs to be like, holy crap, this thing is a rocket ship. And maybe it's not taken off yet, but it's going to start to take off soon. And there needs to be evidence that it's going to start to take off soon. And as a result of that, we need to deploy as many resources as possible to proliferating my ability to talk about this platform and some of the other stuff we're doing on every single social platform that exists, to be able to get as much attention as possible. And so that's the struggle over the past 9 months. We've been trying to figure that out. It's been very difficult. We had a growth hack until we got banned from that platform. So it is what it is. But in all honesty, I'm kind of happy we got banned, because that wasn't going to be the way we were going to build Audia. We had to do something a bit different. So yeah, that's what we're doing. Let's see what we can do. Let's see if any more. Again, thank you all for joining today. First episode. Every day you can expect us around 2 p.m. Today the conversation was about AI, and the questions in the chat were great. And thank you for all those questions that helped me continue the conversation. But every day we're going to have a different topic to discuss in relationship to my startup, content creation, building a startup, all of that stuff. And there's a lot to say. And I think this was a much more natural way for me to say it versus trying to like record it for an actual video. So I think this was good. You guys are gonna clip the joke I had. All right, let's see if there's any last questions, and then we'll get out. Hey, Amit, I'm struggling to work out what your ideal content creator would be. At the moment, it feels like people are just cross-posting YouTube videos rather than creating bespoke audio-only content. And the site feels a bit niche, like YouTube with no video. I 1000% agree with you, Nev 2022. You were absolutely correct, right? And so we recruited a lot of finance creators about 4 months ago because that was the niche that was getting the most level of traction. And at that time, we were just worried about, hey, let's get more traction, let's get more people, let's get more signups, all that stuff. And it was working for a while. I think the goal of Audia is to be much more broader than a finance platform, right? The goal of Audia is to have creators of any walk of life to create content on it. Now, what does that look like? This is where I get excited because there are philosophers, there are poets, there are comedians, there are real estate agents, there are lawyers, there are musicians, there are singers, there are rappers, there are sports broadcasters, there are obviously podcasters, there are YouTube finance creators, there are, YouTube vloggers that mainly the whole day they're just talking to the camera, and that vlog could be an audio clip. There's people like Gary Vee, these motivational TED Talk type of speakers that all they do is inundate YouTube with 17,000 different motivational videos a day or different topics a day. I think like the true vision of Audia is YouTube for audio. And what I mean by that, not is just from a design and tech perspective. What I mean by that is, what is YouTube? YouTube is a library for the world's videos. And as a result of that, it is the greatest dictionary of all time. It is the greatest encyclopedia of all time. I think Audia, if it's even 1/1000th of what YouTube is for video, but for audio, the level of discovery it's going to create for people to find more content. And I know the obvious elephant in the room is like, well, why wouldn't they just go to YouTube to find that content? The reason is because YouTube is the world's library for video, right? Why don't people tweet on Facebook? It's a status update. Why is it? Because Twitter is where people tweet. There is a difference in terms of the type of content, even if it's the same that you post on both platforms. You can post your short videos on Twitter. Twitter has like a video feed. It's not going to get discovered. It's going to, on TikTok, it has a chance because Twitter is a different feed. And so at the end of the day, it's not that complicated. YouTube is a feed for videos. And if we can create that same type of feed at 1/1000th of the scale of YouTube for audio, we are going to be a very fucking big company. Because there are going to be people around the world, and this is where I've got to do the marketing job of getting people to recognize that that platform is here for you, Mr. Real Estate Agent, Mrs. Lawyer that's trying to, Mrs. Tax Accountant in North Dakota that's just trying to give tax tips and have 17 more people discover that you have a practice in North Dakota about taxes so that you can get more leads for your business. This is just another business marketing tool for creators. And it will not only be a philosophical tool for them to express themselves, it will be a business tool for them to create marketing. And as a result of it, the biggest companies in the world are going to be like, holy crap, we need to get some ideas on this platform. Because if we get some ideas on this platform, we can create more marketing dollar. We can allocate more marketing opportunities to capture audiences that we can't capture through this very intimate medium. It's not happening on Spotify. The types of podcasts that are sponsored on Spotify, like Bank of America, Wall Street Journal, right? They do them in creation with these large podcast studios. And the reason they're pumped is because Spotify recognizes how exclusive they are. And they want to show brands, hey, you can get reach on Spotify. You're not getting reach on Spotify. Spotify's just pumping that shit for you because you're a brand. The reason every brand is on TikTok and YouTube and they're getting organic, like look at Duolingo on TikTok. Duolingo does not pay any money for advertising to the best of I know on TikTok. They have like 7 million followers because they figured out how to master TikTok. And the amount of business and the amount of app downloads that has drawn for them, I don't know exactly the correlation, but they went from $73 to $135 and their user retention went up like 40%, their DAUs and MAUs. MAUs went up 60% in the last quarter. And I would say that TikTok is definitely a part of that brand awareness. That is what Audia is going to be in the audio space for millions of content creators and brands across the world. Now, that's my vision. To get there, it's going to be really hard, but that is the type of content that I see that I think can succeed on the platform and can get there. Needs downloads? Yes, it does need downloads. I agree. That is going to. Audio shorts. Okay. Audio shorts, I hate. So this is one I'm going to have to disagree with you, Luke. I've seen many platforms. There was a platform, I'm just going to name them, called Racket.com, raised $3 million. They are out of business. Why are they out of business? Because audio shorts suck. The nature of scrolling through a feed is that you're not supposed to listen to something unless what you're listening to is really, really good. It's active viewing. It's not passive viewing. So when you're scrolling through something, you can't just stop and stare at a blank screen and hope that it entertains you, right? It's just a difficult pull. unless the content really is phenomenal. And so I think a network built on audio shorts is not going to be as persuasive as a network built on long form audio at scale. And if a network can thrive on long form audio, then I think it'll actually be valuable. The short form audio platforms, and I've seen a lot of them, they don't do anything for discovery. That's why like Spotify's little TikTok type of scroll, I'm like, this is not actually getting people interested at scale. And so for me, that's not interesting. We had a chance to do short form audio, but I rejected it immediately. I was like, it's not good. Also, it's going to create a lot of people creating a lot of crappy short form 30-second voice notes. Like, you don't want that. You want like real good content. Why don't you try game devs and players niche? These folks are usually very active. Yes. And I think this is really important. The one idea for these is taking their streams and just taking the audio from their streams and putting it onto the platform. I've heard this idea a couple of times. The problem is gaming is such a visual thing, like as you're watching literally people shoot other people and stuff. So gamers are not necessarily listening to podcasts around gaming. Like finance people will listen to a podcast on the markets, right? Gaming is a little bit more difficult because it's so visually oriented. But nonetheless, again, if you're a gamer and you're like, oh, I can just repurpose my stream on this audio platform and people can listen to it there and it's actually getting reach, meaning it's getting pumped up into different feeds, why the hell not, right? That's the question for creators. Why not? Because the competition for attention is becoming so competitive that the only way you can find more distribution is if you try different platforms. So, yeah, I agree. Okay, that is it for me. Hour and 6 minutes. Thank you to the 80 people who were here. Really appreciated it. Check out Audia in the description. You can register, sign up, make an account, and kind of play around with it. Let me know your thoughts. We will be doing this every day, Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. We will have a different thing to talk about. It'll be a live show. You can call in, comments in the chat. Goal is to talk about something related to the startup. Bring it back to the startup. There's a lot of stuff to talk about in relationship to the startup, and create as much content as possible around these ideas. I mean, this video is going to get clipped up into I don't know how many clips, and we're going to see how these clips do as well. And we're going to just try to bring up different topics. Today was about AI. I'm sure we'll be talking about AI more in the future, but there are a lot of different topics I have in my mind to talk about when it comes to this. So a lot of stuff we're going to be able to do. Thanks, Mick. Good stream. Thanks for being here. I will not be streaming Tesla earnings. There's a lot of people doing that. We will be talking about it on Finance Junkies tonight. So make sure you're there at 10 p.m. We'll be discussing everything Tesla related. I'm going to see all of this in my shorts feed in about 8 hours. We're going to do it on a different channel, not the finance channel. So you guys won't have to see it on this feed. All right. Thank you. 70 people. I appreciate it. Cannot explain how much it means to me. I will see you tomorrow at 2 p.m. and tonight at 10 p.m. Shin Toki, comment of the day. AI is just a mid intelligence. That's all it is. That's all we got. All right. Thank you, everybody. I will see you tonight. Bye-bye.